Hello, everyone. This is a test review to help you get ready for your Chapter 3 test in college algebra. The first question says, 1 week, a computer store sold a total of 36 computers and external hard drives. The revenue from these sales was $32,985. And your question is going to look similar to this, so I'm just writing down the numbers from my question, and you should write down the numbers from your question the same way. And it said that the computers sold for $11.80 per unit, and it said the hard drives sold for $125 per unit. Now you have to find out how many the store sold of each of the computers and the hard drives. So first of all, the total number of computers plus the total number of hard drives is equal to 36 according to the problem. And the money made from the computers, each of the computers, is $11.80 times the number of computers plus the money made from the hard drives is $125 times the number of hard drives. And that equals a total amount of money of $32,985. So our first step is going to be to divide the second equation by a number that goes into it. And since everything ends with a 0 or a 5, that means everything is divisible by 5. So 1180 divided by 5 is the first step we're going to do. So I'm going to take everything in this whole problem and divide everything by 5 all the way across. 1180 divided by 5 is 236. 125 divided by 5 is 25. And 32,985 divided by 5 is equal to 6597. Now, out of those numbers, the smallest number is 25. So we're going to take this top equation right here and multiply it by negative 25, therefore, which will make us get negative 25c, negative 25h equals negative 900. If I add these equations together, I will get 6597 minus 900. That's equal to 5697. The 25 and the 25h, the positives and the negatives, when you add them together, they cancel out. And then you're left with 236c minus 25c, which is equal to 211c. The next step is to divide by 211. When you do that, you'll get 5697 divided by 211, which is 27. So in this particular example, there were 27 computers sold. The numbers will probably be different for you, but you'll work it the exact same way. How do you find the number of hard drives? Well, remember that C plus H is equal to 36. So that means if you put in 27 for the value of C, you will get 27 plus H equals 36. If you subtract 27 from both sides, you'll get H equals 9. So you should sell a total of 27 computers and a total of 9 hard drives. The next question, number 2, is talking about investing. So it says you invest a total of $5,000 between two accounts. One account you're going to put money into it, it's at 4% interest, and I'm going to call that money X. The other account is at 9% interest. And since I've already put some of the money into the first bank account, that means that I have only a little bit of money left over. So it's going to be the money left over is $5,000, which is the total amount, whatever your total amount is, minus the money that you've put in the first bank account. Now we're going to total that up mathematically to get an equation. So this means that 4% of the money in the bank account number 1 plus 9% of the money in the bank account number 2 is equal to a total interest for the year. And it said for the year, the total interest was equal to 250. So that means the total interest in the equation is going to add up to $250. Now we're going to distribute this. So what is 0.09 times 5,000? That would be, let's see, 450, I believe. Let me just double check that. Yep, 450. And then what is 0.09 times negative x? That would just be negative 0.09 x. And then bring down the 0.04x, put a positive sign, and bring that down. Now let's combine the like terms. So the 0.04x minus the 0.09x adds together and equals negative 0.05x. And then the plus 450 stays, equals 250. We will subtract 450 from both sides. And this adds up to 0. Keep the x. 250 minus 450 is negative 200. Divide both sides by negative 0.05. And you'll end up with, let's see, 4,000, I believe. So x equals 4,000. So you should invest x, which is $4,000, at the 4% interest rate. And then the 9% interest rate is equal to 5,000 minus x. So that's 5,000 minus 4,000, which is equal to $1,000. You should invest $1,000 at 9% interest. There we go. That's the end of question 2. Now let's do question 3. Question 3 says, a boat's crew rowed 13.5 miles downstream. So the distance is 13.5. Remember this equation, rate times time equals distance. That's what we're going to do. And it said when you're rowing downstream that you're in a boat and you're rowing. So there's the rate that you're going when you're rowing, which rhymes, is equal to the boat's speed plus the water speed. And when you're going downstream, it only takes a time, it says, of 1.5 hours. Now your problem is going to be different, but in my problem it says 1.5 hours. The distance, of course, is equal to 13.5. So our next step is to write down the equation that is upstream. So when you're going upstream, so this is downstream. Upstream, the rate is equal to the speed of the boat minus the speed of the water, because you're going upstream against the water. And that trip takes 4.5 hours. That's why it's so much harder to swim upstream than downstream. It takes a lot longer. And then the distance is still the same, 13.5 miles, because that's the same distance of the trip. Now we're going to divide this side by 1.5, that side of the equation. This side of the equation we're going to divide by 1.5. So the question is, what is 13.5 divided by 1.5? That's equal to 9. So we get the boat plus the water equals 9. Now this one we're going to divide both sides by 4.5. And on the left side, the 4.5 cancels out. But on the right side, what is 13.5 divided by 4.5? That's 3. So we get the boat minus the water equals 3. Now let's add these equations together. So let's take this equation plus this equation. If we add the b plus the b, that's equal to 2b, or not to be, that is the question, like Shakespeare said. But actually, though, that's English, not math. So b plus b is 2b, w plus negative w is 0, and 9 plus 3 is 12. So we get 2b equals 12. Divide by 2, b equals 6. So the speed of the boat is equal to 6. And now we have to find the speed of the water. Well, remember that the boat plus the water equals 9. So if the boat is the speed of 6, that means that subtract 6 from both sides. So the water speed equals 3. Yep. So the boat's going 6 and the rate of the current is 3. Now let's go ahead to question 4, because I want to do one more, which rhymes with 4. So the cost is given to you in question 4. 64,000, which is the fixed cost, plus 43, which is a variable cost, 43x. So $64,000 plus 43x is the cost. The revenue is equal to the sales price times x. So it's given to you. It says 47x. We have to calculate the profit formula, which is also called the profit function. So the profit function is equal to the revenue minus the cost, the money that you're making minus the money you're spending. So that's equal to the 47x minus, whenever you subtract something that has two parts or more than two parts, either one, you have to put that in parentheses. So put that in parentheses. Now distribute the negative. So if I distribute that negative, you'll get negative 64,000. If I distribute the negative again, I'll get negative. Whoops, I started thinking about 63,000 again. You'll get negative 43x. Then you bring the 47x down in the front, combine the like terms. So this term is a like term with that one. 47x minus 43x is equal to 4x. So the solution is profit equals 4x minus $64,000. Now we have to calculate the company's profit. So that's part A. Part B says we have to calculate the profit. What is the profit, it says, of selling 25,000 radios? So we have to plug in the number 25,000 into the formula. So it's called P of 25,000. That would equal 4 times X, which is going to be 4 times 25,000 minus 64,000. So that's that 4x minus 64,000. 4 times 25,000 is 100,000. 100,000 minus 64,000 is equal to 36,000. So that's the end of question 4. So that means now it's time for one more. Let's go ahead to question number 5. So question number 5 says x plus y plus 8z equals negative 17. And then it says x plus y plus 4z equals negative 9. And then it says x plus 6y plus 5z equals negative 36. So our first goal is to identify the letters that have the smallest numbers in front of them. Well, that would be the x's. They have no numbers in front of them. So then let's combine those equations together. We're going to take equation number 1, and we're going to subtract equation number 2 from it. So we're going to go down here and say equation number 1 minus equation number 2. So we're going to write equation number 1 down like this. Now we're going to subtract equation number 2. So it's going to be minus x minus y minus 4z equals, if you minus a negative 9, it's a positive 9. Now we're going to combine those together. So the x and negative x is 0, y negative y is 0, 8 and negative 4z is equal to 4z. Negative 17 and 9 together is equal to negative 8. Like if you went to the cafeteria and they had bad food, then you negative 8. So divide this by 4, and you'll get z equals -4. So that's the first solution. I'm going to circle that one. Next step is to put the z equals -4 into the easiest equation you can find. Well, there's actually no equation that just has z in it and one other letter, unfortunately. So let's go ahead back to the original equations and let's try combining a different pair of equations together. So what about if we did equation 1 minus equation 3? So let's take equation 1 and do a negative equation 3. So if I do that, equation 1 again is going to be x plus y plus 8z equals -17. Minus equation 3 is going to be -x, -6y, -5z equals +36. If I add those together, I'll get nothing for the x's, but a negative y and a positive y and a -6y together is a -5y. Az together with -5z is 3z. -17 with a +36 adds up to 19. No, +19. Sorry, equals. I forgot the equals. Equals +19. So there's an equation that has a z in it now. So I need to take that z that I got, plug it into that z. So then I'll have -5y plus 3 times -4 equals 19. So then I got -5y minus 12 equals 19. Add 12 to both sides. Then you got -5y equals 31. Divide. Wait, I think I made a mistake. Hold on. Let me make sure I didn't write anything down wrong. 6, 5, -36. 6 plus 5y. Okay, so um, oh, I did make a mistake. Okay, my value of z is actually incorrect. Wow. Okay, so -8 divided by 4 is actually equal to -2. So my fault. That's totally I did that wrong. So z actually equals -2. So this right here also needs to be changed in all of those steps. Because I was thinking to myself, 5 does not go into 31. So just remember that I'm not perfect. So put in -2 for z actually. And then 3 times -2 is actually -6. And then to get rid of a -6, you'll have to add 6 to both sides. So 19 plus 6 is 25. Now you divide by -5. And then you get y equals -5. That's a lot better. So y is actually equal to -5. So that's the second answer. So the first answer is z equals -2. And then the second answer is y equals -5. And now we're ready for the final answer. So let's go back to the original problem and pick the easiest equation. I think the easiest one is the second one. So I'm going to change to blue so you can see it better. So the second equation says x plus y plus 4z equals -9. And I'm going to plug in for the letter y, I'll plug in -5. And for the letter z, I'll plug in -2. And then equals -9 on the right side. So 4 times -2 is -8. And then -9. And then combine the -5 and the -8 together, you'll get -13. Add 13 to both sides to get the final answer, which is x equals 4. Now you have to circle that one, but then when you put them into the computer, you have to put them in alphabetical order. It's called an ordered pair or an ordered triple of numbers. So x goes first, then y goes second, and then z goes third. Presto, that's you put them into the computer like that. They will already have boxes for you, so you don't have to draw the parentheses, just put the numbers in order in the boxes. Okay, all right, now let's do question number 6. So question number 6 says 7x plus 5y equals negative 49. Then it says 13x plus 2y equals negative 40. Now this problem says to solve it using matrices. So you're supposed to solve this with matrices. So that means you can drop the letters off, so it actually makes it easier. Just say 7, 5, 13, 2, and then draw the equal sign with a line that means the equal sign. Negative 49 and negative 40, like that. Now we're going to look at the pair of numbers that has the smallest numbers, which is 5 and 2. We're going to make those opposites of the common factor that they have, which is common multiple that they have, which is 10. So multiply the top equation times 2, because that middle 5 times 2 would equal 10. So 7 times 2 is 14. 5 times 2 is 10. Negative 49 times 2 is negative 98. Multiply the bottom one times negative 5, because that will make the 2 in the middle of the bottom become a negative 10. So 13 times negative 5, that is negative 65. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. Negative 40 times negative 5 is positive 200. Presto. Got that done. Now, add these equations together. So if I add them, so let's take the top row, actually, add it to the bottom row. So if I take the top row and add it to the bottom row, I'll get 14 plus negative 65, that's negative 51, and then I'll get 0. And then 14, and then 10, negative 98, and then 200. Next, I'm going to Next, I realized I actually made a mistake. That 200, I forgot to add those rows together to row 1 plus row 2. So negative 98 plus 200 is actually equal to 102. So there we go. Now, the next step I'm going to do is to divide the bottom row by negative 51. So divide row 2 divided by negative 51. If I do that, then I'll get positive 1, 0, and positive divided by negative is a negative, so I'll get negative 2, like that. Next, I'm going to divide the top row by 2. So do row 1 divided by 2. And I got 7, 5, negative 49, which is actually the same thing as I had at first. Now I'm going to multiply the bottom row times negative 7. So take the bottom row, row 2 times negative 7, like that. So if I take row 2 times negative 7, I'm going to get negative 7 in the first spot, then 0, then positive 14, and then the top row stays the same. The reason I did that is because now 7 plus negative 7, they are the opposites of each other. So I'm going to take row 2, add row 2 onto row 1. So if I do that, take the bottom row, add it to the top row, then the top row will have a 0 at the beginning. And then 0 plus 5 is 5. 14 plus negative 49 is negative 35, like that. And then now, after doing that, I can now divide the bottom row by, divide row 2 by negative 7 again. So it takes it back to 1, 0, negative 2, like that. Now my final step is to take row 1 divided by 5, because 5 goes into everything. If I divide row 1 by 5, 0 divided by 5 is still 0. 5 divided by 5 is 1. Negative 35 divided by 5 is negative 7. And then like this. Perfect. Now, I need to switch these rows with each other, actually. So switch row 2 and row 1 with each other. You can switch rows, the order of them. So then you get 1, 0, negative 2 at the top. And you get 0, 1, negative 7 at the bottom. Now, those ones are in the proper order now. They are diagonal, and they have zeros below the diagonal, and they have zeros above the diagonal. When they're in that form, that means the top number equals x, the bottom number equals y. So the solution is in alphabetical order, negative 2 and then 7. Okay, then let's do number 7. Number 7. Number 7 says to evaluate the determinant, negative 3, 8, 9, 2. The determinant is just simply the first number times the last number minus the other two numbers multiplied together. So that's negative 6 minus 72, that's negative 78. Okay, then the 8th and final question on this test is use Cramer's rule. So here's a system of equations. It'll give you a system of equations similar to this, not exactly the same though, unless something is broken with the system. So x minus 6y equals negative 21, 7x minus 4y equals 5. Cramer's rule says you first write the matrix that represents the left side, but without the right side though. So draw a 1 for the x, negative 6, 7, and a 4 for all of the letters. Now you find the determinant of that, and you call that equal to d for short, which is equal to the first number times the last number of that minus the other two numbers multiplied together. So you get 4 plus, because a negative negative is a positive, 4 plus 42, which is equal to 46. Perfect. Reminds me of Psalms 46, which is a very pretty psalm in the Bible. Then you will go to, now you'll plug in these two values of the equations, you'll plug them inside of the x column. So the first column is called the x column. Plug those numbers into the x column, like that. But leave the other two numbers the same as they were, the same as it was. So now find the determinant of this. But this determinant is not called the determinant alone. This is called the determinant of x. So now I'll take the first number times the last number minus the other two numbers multiplied together. Now there's a double negative again. So first number times the last number, that's negative 84. Double negative is a positive. That's a positive 30. So negative 84 plus 30, that's equal to negative 54. Now let's find the determinant of y. So you take those same two numbers again, but this time you plug them in to the y column. So in the y column, I plug in the right values of the equations, which are what the equations equal to on the right side of the equations. But I leave the x values the same as they were at first, the 1 and the 7. You should not change both of them at the same time, of course. So 1 and 7 stays there, but now the values on the right side of the equation, they take the place of the y values. This is called the determinant of y. Now it's equal to, once again, like all determinants, it's the first number times the last number minus the other two numbers multiplied together. So it's 5 plus, let's see, 21 times 7, that's 147, which is equal to 152 if you had 5. Now, the next step is we have to find x. So the secret to finding x is to realize that x is dx divided by d. So it's equal to dx, which is negative 54, divided by d, which is 46. Whoops, I think I might have made a mistake again. Well, sad to say, I did make a mistake. Notice that when I put the numbers of the equation into the determinant, that the original equation said negative 4 in front of the y. Well, the original equation said negative 4, but I accidentally said positive 4. So let me fix that real quick. Wow, I'm so sorry. So this 4 actually right here should have been a negative 4. So that means this should have been a negative 4. So this should have been a negative 4. So negative 4 plus 42 actually should have been 38, actually. And this also should have been a negative 4. So that means that this one should have been a negative 4. So this one should have been a positive 84. So it should have been 84 plus 30, which actually should have been 114. All right, so that's the only two times that the negative 4 was affected by that mistake that I made. So x actually should be dx, which is actually 114 divided by d, which is 38. So let's see what that is. Hopefully I didn't make another mistake. 114 divided by 38 equals 3. Okay, good. So x equals 3. It actually worked this time. So that's x. Now let's find y. Remember, when you're using Cramer's rule to solve equations, y is equal to dy divided by d. Well, dy is 152 and d is 38. So 152 divided by 38 is equal to 4. Yay. That one worked as well. So the solution is x equals 3, which comes first, and then y equals 4. And make sure you put the answers in alphabetical order. So that's all. That's your whole study guide for your Chapter 3 test in College Algebra. Dear Heavenly Father, please help everyone to do their best and to get a perfect score on it. If it be thy will, and thank you very much for helping us, and please bless us in everything that we do. Help us to glorify you in Jesus' name, amen.